Those two whistle blasts mean we're about to begin our way to East Chattanooga. So everyone do have a good look at Grand Junction here as we depart. We will be returning in a day or two, a week at the most. And just a bit about the coaches you will be riding in today. If you're riding in the first or the last cars on our train, the ones with the gray seats, and on a passenger train named the Nancy Hanks 2, a train between Savannah and Atlanta, Georgia. The 390 on the front of our train is our most recent restoration, having been completed just last year. The 390 is what's known as a combine car, meaning it is half baggage car and half passenger coach, unique in our collection. The two middle cars on our train with the blue and pink interiors, those are the 1486 and the 1488 respectively, both built in 1949 by the Budd Company for the Norfolk and Western Railway. Originally built as University Series sleeping cars used on trains such as the Cavalier and the Pocahontas, they were later sold to the Pennsylvania Railroad and converted to commuter cars. They're still in that configuration to this day. We just acquired both of those cars last year. We're now crossing our first bridge over South Chickamauga Creek. In the water below, you may spot some turtles, river otters, or geese. To the left, there is a set of stone piers. Those stone piers mark the site of the original bridge. On top of those stone piers would have been a wooden decking that the rails would have run on. Bridge over the Western and Atlantic Railroad. This line you see below us here with this freight train rolling under us was the original line into Chattanooga, being completed by the state of Georgia in 1850. That line runs from Atlanta to Chattanooga and is still owned by the state of Georgia today. You see under us here with a tunnel underneath the railroad, hence the name. When the Southern Railway abandoned this line in the 50s, the roof of the tunnel was opened up to avoid maintenance costs. After the land was donated to us, we put a bridge over that gap. So today we have a tunnel boulevard without a tunnel. It's also the only place we can legally run over cars. After World War II, the railway's equipment was becoming too large to fit to the pre-Civil War era tunnel. So a new line was built to the north and it bypasses the ridge altogether. That was the whistle of our locomotive you just heard, signaling our approach to the tunnel, meaning we will be entering the tunnel at any moment. So I hope no one on board is scared of the dark. If you have a flashlight app on your cell phone, I do encourage you to have those out at this time to shine them out the windows and illuminate the tunnel walls as we pass. If anyone needs to use the restroom while we're here at East Chattanooga, there will be a restroom available in the depot right next to the train on the right side once we get stopped. It is the only building on that side of the train, painted gray, wooden building. Should be easy for you to find. There will also be drinks and snacks inside of the depot there available for sale as well. Keep in mind East Chattanooga is an active rail yard, so be on the lookout for moving locomotives and cars and watch your step. We do have four rules we do ask you to follow while off the train for your safety. Rule number 1 is to please stay with the group at all times, as this is a guided tour, so please do not wander off. Rule number 2 is to please stay on the concrete pathway. Don't wander off into any tracks, gravel, or ballast for tripping hazards. Rule number 3 is to please do not climb on any of the equipment you see around the property. As I said, it is an active rail yard, so all this equipment is prone to movement at any time. And then rule number 4, my favorite, is to have fun. When this museum was first founded in 1961, the Southern Railway originally only donated 1.5 miles of track, and that track began right here in East Chattanooga. So if you were to visit the museum in the first 2 decades of our operation, this is where you would have come to get on the trains, and you would have ridden just 1.5 miles to the other side of the tunnel and then reversed back. It was in the 80s that the Southern Railway donated another 1.5 miles of track for a total of 3 miles overall, and that is the 3 miles that we still run on to this day. As we come to a stop, on the left side of our train, you're going to see, near the front of the train, you'll see the second of our operational steam locomotives. That engine you see there is the Southern Railway 4501, built in 1911 by the Bolton Locomotive Works in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is the larger of our two operational steam locomotives, and it's mostly used to pull our 9-hour Somerville steam special on
It dropped by just a few inches. When it drops, we know the table is balanced. So when it drops, heat stops. Now the locomotive pulling our train today is the Southern Railway 630, built in 1904 by the American Locomotive Company at their original work. At 117 years old, it is the oldest operating piece of equipment we have in our collection. It was built for the Southern Railway as a mainline freight locomotive, and it did that up until 1948 when it was retired and sold off to the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad. They ran there for a number of years pulling freight until the Southern would actually reacquire the locomotive for use on the mainline steam excursion program beginning in the 60s. Now, a few decades later, they would retire the locomotive again in favor of using larger locomotives on those mainline excursions. So what they did was donate the locomotive to us in 1999. Norfolk Southern did. We started a restoration on it in 2001. It was completed in 2011, and we've been using it here ever since. This locomotive is a 280 consolidation of the cab and firebox. It operates at 190 psi, has 56-inch diameter driving wheels, and produces 46,700 pounds of tractive effort, the equivalent of about 2,000 horsepower. For those of you that have an interest in steam locomotives, this is also the only operating steam locomotive in the world standard gauge that has southern mount gear. If you look right here, walking along the side of the locomotive, you'll see our engineer Joseph. He's responsible for operating this locomotive and getting us here back safely today. So everyone, go ahead and give him a wave as he does back to you. Now the way this locomotive operates is up in the cab, our fireman Frank is feeding 3 to 5 tons of coal a day, not 10, into that firebox where it is burning. On the front side of the firebox, there are a series of tubes that run the length of the boiler. Those are called the flues. The hot gases from the fire double through the flues that run up and out the stack. Surrounding the flues and the firebox is water. That water is heated by those hot gases and converts to steam. Steam, of course, does expand, raising boiler pressure, in this case, up to 190 psi. When Joseph moves that throttle, that steam is channeled down into these large cylinders here on either side of the engine. Inside these cylinders is a large piston the steam is pushing on either side of. Those pistons are connected to the rods you see on the side of the engine, and those rods are connected to the driving wheels. So as these pistons are being moved in and out, it's rotating those rods, therefore turning the driving wheels and propelling the locomotive. After that steam has been used, it mixes with the hot gases and the smoke box clears the front of the locomotive and then shoots up and out the stack. And that exhausting steam is what creates the chugging sound you hear when you see a steam locomotive. Down over there next to our train by the crossing, you'll see our fireman Frank. He's the one responsible for feeding that fire, as well as maintaining the water level to produce all the steam needed for this engine to operate on. Now, as you've probably noticed, our train is still sitting on track 1, but we've run the locomotive up on track 2. That is so we can do a runaround. What that means is the locomotive is going to go past our train and then through a switch. It will then reverse through that switch back into track 1 to hook up to the opposite end of the train. So what was the front is now the back, and vice versa. Now that we have completed turning the locomotive around, for those of you that would like to visit our Backshop, you can follow me. We're going right behind our train there, taking a right turn over the crossing, and going to that large building in the distance. Those of you that don't want to see the Backshop, you can reboard the train at any time, as well as visit the depot here with those drinks and snacks available. But as I said, if you want to see the Backshop, you can follow me.
Only because it came back. Right near them.
Any questions on part of the claim has plastic key or yes. If you believe it's exactly the nature, you know, in that case, it's okay. Next time, great.